Okay, hello everybody. Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever it is you are in the world. It is morning for us over here in New Zealand. Um, but super excited to chat with you guys today. I know a couple of weeks ago we had another event with Jeremy from Playful. You may or may not have gone to that one. I did receive the edited recording of that event. Um, Today. So you can soon, once I announce it and send it to you, you can watch that. If you're interested in becoming a paid playtester, you can watch that recording and learn all about that. But today we are having a different event with you guys, the private partner studios, specifically because the main aspect of this partnership with Playful is the playtesting with the studios. So we have a bunch of stuff to talk about today. And yeah, if you haven't met him already, I want to introduce Jeremy. Jeremy's the founder of Playful Playtesting. Jeremy, say hi.
Kia ora, everyone. It was nice to be here, nice to be invited. Looking forward to sort of talking through what we're doing, and hopefully that'll be of interest,
Yes.
both in terms of sort of long term, but also just in terms of support.
Yes. One of the missions of K Bear is to help make indie development more accessible. And I'm very aware, obviously, that the vast majority of our studios have little to no funding. Most of us are bootstrapping out of our own pockets. Some of us are lucky enough to have grants, and I think only two of us out of the over 200 have any sort of outside stakeholder funding from angels or publishers or investors. And so I'm very aware of that, right? Um, and so obviously Playful is a playtesting service. They do cost money. But Playful has partnered with us because we agree on our kind of morals and values and how we look at the games industry. And that is very important to me. And so Playful has kind of wanted to come on this journey with us. And we have developed some situations for you guys, for our studios here, that might make their already accessible pricing even more accessible for some of you. And even if you are not able to access this stuff now, this is a lasting relationship. So hopefully you'll be able to access it at some point in the future. And then also, I will speak to it more once we get there. I'm also working to make it even more accessible than it already is right now. So we'll get into all of that. But yeah, I think let's get started. Tell us about what Playful is, Jeremy.
Right, let's do this. So yeah, I think well, let me kick off by just sort of thanking KBR again. I think finding people within this space and supporting this space is something that's important to me, and it's good to be involved in such uh, an interesting and creatively driven industry. I'm obviously, as Ayla said, the founder of Playful. Um, she, Ayla mentioned last time that I had been on a journey of my own to get into the space. This is like my third time actually getting into the space. With a slightly different guise on the last time. Um, we are a developer. We've developed and published our own game. And prior to sort of looking into what's next, we decided that our journey taught us a hell of a lot. It taught us all the things that we should do and a whole lot of stuff around the things that we shouldn't do. And one of the things that we found really difficult was playtesting. The services that are out there are just too expensive for small studios, and the organisation and effort to run a program on your own is a big black hole, and it takes a long, long time and a lot of effort. And we knew we were only a team of four, and we struggled with resourcing to be able to fill that sort of space. So, sort of one of the main drivers for us with Playful was sort of our own experience through that exercise. Um, so we are an independent playtesting partner. We have real players. We have a structured process, and what we deliver is actionable insight, stuff that studios can actually use and fairly quickly. We are in a position to support through our process studios from prototype, from grey boxing right through to pre-launch. We are talking to some studios about post-launch support. We haven't quite got one in the bag yet, but we have opportunities to look at how people are onboarding, retention, and even sort of difficulty on the longer spectrum. For developers, what we offer is the ability to test games early and often, get feedback from real players. Our playtesting community is growing. We welcomed a bunch of Cave Bear members off the back of the last conversation. So you're actually getting real players that we can segment against your game. And then more importantly, we're able to then turn that feedback into something that studios can actually use.
Yeah.
Uh,
A couple little notes about Playful from that I believe are important from our conversations is, um, again, like I said, like Jeremy said, this is his third attempt to get into the games industry, and I think we can all relate a little bit on the struggle of getting into the games industry, especially successfully. Obviously, you guys know that I'm in New Zealand now, and so it's personally very exciting for me to have one of our first major partnerships be with a New Zealand studio or a New Zealand company. And something that might be different for some of us who might be in America. You know, at least in my experience with America, is I'm very used to these very big, established kind of corporations. And Playful and New Zealand in general doesn't have a lot of those. It's mostly smaller businesses. And Playful is a newer business, and it is a small one. And so I feel like that's again the similarities and values is really what established this partnership. And so being able to support a small little New Zealand company that shares our values is an added bonus for me, and I'm sure Jeremy feels the same way about us. So yeah, that's kind of what informed the beginning of this relationship, and then we are going to talk about exactly what's in it for you guys.
Yeah, before we jump into that, one thing that we are taking our time to get right is we believe that playtesting is a coin, and we're looking at both sides. Obviously, one side's the studios, and we're working very hard to provide a whole lot of services and features and functionality to offer studios. But we also don't want to ignore the players. We're very conscious that most of our competitors tend to have a database, and they tend to be nameless. And you can segment, but you're not quite sure what sort of data you're necessarily going to get back. We're committing to actually helping our game testers. We're in the process of developing a program that's going to help playtesters think out loud and contribute meaningfully and a playtesting capacity, help them develop skills, and to build our own community of segmented players that we can sort of draw on. And we know from various conversations that most of the people doing it, and as much as we do pay people for playing games, which is quite nice, but most people are doing it actually because they want to be part of that process. They feel like they want to contribute and help studios. So it's a slightly deeper journey for most of the people that we've got in our community so far. So why do we do it? Why do we do what we do? So I think I mentioned earlier we started off as a developer, and we've experienced a whole range of challenges. Finding and coordinate suitable candidates, always difficult, with the emphasis on the suitable candidates. Running sessions and collecting data is a lot of effort. And then you get to analysing the data itself. And if you run even a typical session, you could end up with dozens of hours of video footage, which could end up meaning sort of thousands of observations you need to go through, or segmentation data, or if you punch in a survey at the back end of that, you could end up with thousands of survey results to actually chew through. And when we're a small team of 4, that's a lot of work. It's a big undertaking. We went through some of the programs here, and one of the mantras that started to sort of form was friends and family aren't representative players. They are good in lots of aspects, and they're good to actually get a litmus test, but they're not your audience. And more often than not, your mum will always say you're doing a good job. So you really need to sort of weigh some of that stuff up. And we found ourselves that we became too close to our own designs, and we started defending stuff probably a little too hard. So getting sort of that feedback and actually getting players to inform us actually became really, really good for our team and the final stages of our development. And then later on, it obviously leads to just an overall better understanding of what you're building and what you're delivering. Hopefully this will be a pretty easy slide. Why is it important? It helps make the game understandable to those that are going to play it. It creates confidence for studios and allows you to make decisions that are grounded rather than based on assumptions. I recently spoke to a studio out of Sydney and was blown away through the conversation that they indicated that they typically play test 200 to 300 times per title, which for me, it blew me away on two levels. One, that there was a studio that had a really formalized program because not many studios do. But the higher up the stratosphere, you find more and more of it. These guys were probably mid-tier. But what really blew me away is they turned around and said that they think of playtesting as their secret sauce, not as a competitive thing against other studios, but it's because that when they launch their title, they have no surprises. They've literally tested everything, and they've done a deep dive on everything. They're currently working on a title that we're hoping to partner with them at the moment, and it's not even out of grey box yet. And they've already done 50 playtests on it. They have an established framework, and we're augmenting into that. And so I'm looking forward to actually working across the full spectrum of testing opportunities as these titles actually start to develop. But yeah, secret sauce, I love it.
I want to just kind of engage the audience a little bit here because we do have studios.
Yep.
Have you guys play tested your games yet? Like not within your team, like other people, strangers. Have you played with? Has it only been family and friends? Okay.
Nice.
Yeses and one no. Very cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Only family and friends so far. Yeah. I'm curious how it has gone. How was it difficult to set up? Have you done it internally? Were you having someone else help you? Because I remember when we were doing Plantasia, we had a team of 15, but we were all juniors. We had no idea what we were doing. And we tried to get playtesting. We actually, one of our 15 members was our QA lead, and we tried to put that task on her to create a playtesting system and source playtesters and do playtests and all that. And it was too much on top of her QA responsibilities. And we were never able to. We tried, but we did not get far, and we ended up not playtesting our game at all before we launched it. Launched our demo, which is crazy. Like looking back on it, it's just like we absolutely should have been playtesting our game, but thankfully it was generally okay. We use a small community called QA Central to playtest our Roblox builds. Yeah. Volunteer Discord community. It's hit or miss if you get good playtesters or professionals, so it's pretty easy because they let you run it yourself. I gotcha. Found so many issues with the build. Yeah, it's really playtesting is really important. It's cool that Discord exists, but yeah, with Playful at least you'll get playtesters who are ideally your audience specifically. All right, cool. Thanks for answering, guys. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, so I mean, as Ayla just sort of touched on, QA and playtesting aren't the same thing.
Right.
QA is about finding bugs, looking at performance, technical issues, stability, et cetera, where playtesting is actually finding the fun. It's figuring out where the player experience is. They're understanding the levels of engagement. Do they find things too easy, too hard, too boring, too much? All that feedback actually can be used to drive your game forward even further. So our process is pretty simple, purposely simple. We start where every good studio should, is figuring out sort of what you want to do, move through to a recruitment phase. Obviously the play is where we get all the playtest community involved. We then sort of wade through all the analysis and then deliver a report. So it's purposely meant not to confuse. We are largely turning around playtests from sort of green light through to delivery of the report in about 10 days max. Our processes are going to get better, and I only see that coming down. We have delivered a few already at 5 days. The biggest two challenges in any playtest is the playtest itself. How much time do you need to allocate for to ensure your players get through? We typically create a window. Largely, that gives us a higher rate of delivery. And the recruitment. Most recruitment, we're generally done within about 2 days. Although there is a bit of a star, a bit of asterisk to that. We just recently did a co-op test and learned the hard way that the first wave of volunteers came super fast. But one of the things that we wanted to do was actually play test with friends playing with friends. And that second wave where they had to recruit their friends took slightly longer than anticipated. So we probably should have given ourselves a little bit more time on that one. But it worked generally pretty good. It allows us to sort of stick within that sort of 10-day timeline.
I did that playtest with my husband. It was a good time. I did go through the, and if you were at our other event, I've already said this. I did personally go through the entire process as a playtester. Obviously, I can't go through the process as a studio because I'm not one currently. But I obviously have talked with Jeremy extensively about this. So I believe I'm aware of how it works. And Jeremy will obviously answer those questions as well. And just another thing as well is you have questions at any point in time, please put them in the chat. Once we get kind of to the end and we open up to questions, we're open to questions all the time. But at the end, we can also maybe even get you up here on the stage if you want to ask questions. And if you're listening to this in a recording and you make it to the end of the video and you still have questions, please email me or Discord me or LinkedIn or send me any kind of message, and I'm happy to answer those questions or send them to Jeremy. And I'll also kind of give you the Playful Discord as well, so maybe you can ask there. But at any point in time, if you have questions, let us know.
Definitely. We start off at the beginning. When we get started, we're looking at understanding what you guys want to achieve. What's the goal of that testing? And it could be anything. It could be about narrative. It could be, is this boss too hard? It could be, the first time user experience, did they get it through and understand everything that we needed to? Right through to gameplay loops and just pacing. We define research questions. All our gameplay sessions are backed up with a survey. And we will refine the survey questions to support your outcomes. Where appropriate, we'll look at the methodology we're going to use to test. We also then start to figure out the participant profiles with regards to segmentation. Not all studios want segmentation. It's a choice. Segmentation allows you to be very focused on the type of players. If you want that 500-hour platformer testing your game, we can find that. But if you're just wanting to look at it from a new player perspective that maybe doesn't have that experience, we can also facilitate on that. And then the event planning, which is around, when are we going to run it? What period it's going to take, whether there's any sort of logistics that are in and around that. We have been running a lot of tests straight off the back of Steam because that's where most of the studios are living, and that makes it a lot easier for them to provide builds straight into the back of their Steam account. And so making sure that we can facilitate whether the beta branch or Steam keys or something along those sort of lines. So sort of planning that out to the nth degree. Recruitment, like I said, generally we're done within 2 days. It happens pretty quickly. Although, like I said, co-op will take a few more, I think, in order to get that done right. Audience segmentation, we are able to segment our current user base on about 10 to 12 different variables. Everything from country, age, what genres they like, how many hours that they've spent in a game, and that allows you to get the player that truly represents your end audience. We do look at technical requirements if there are some. It's an option for studios to explore. And then we screen expression of interest and onboard them to the game through a series of emails and processes, steps to onboard them. We provide them all the information they need to actually then jump into the test, whether that's Steam key redemption or even just how to drive OBS in the best way to actually deliver the best results across the board. And then we let them play. We are fully remote. We are looking at moderated sessions in a lab, but I suspect that'll be closer to the end of the year before we bring that online. So most of our sessions are remote, which allows us to segment by country. The time period that we allow means that it doesn't matter where they are, people are playing based on the time that's comfortable to them. I mentioned earlier that we spend time to help our playtesters become good playtesters. So giving them sort of guidance and around that thinking out loud type methodology, getting them to ask questions about what they expected or what they didn't expect after doing things. So you're actually getting quite a detailed video clip. As I mentioned, we also provide a survey at the tail end of it, which serves sort of two purposes. One is very specific drill down questions, very specific to the brief, but also we collect data based on a behavioural model, which I'll touch on a little bit more in a bit. The analysis itself typically collects hours of gameplay footage, thousands of different observations and survey responses, and then a segmentation mountain of data. The last co-op that we did, I think it ran over 3 days. We got over 40 hours worth of video footage. Something like 4,000 observations came out of it, 1,500 survey responses, and I think it was about 5,000 segmentation data points, which were then sort of given back and turned into something usable. We, having experienced it ourselves, and I'm sure there's a few out there, we didn't have 40 hours to sit through video across our team. That's quite a big time sink. And our sessions are only going to probably get bigger. So the ability to digest that sort of stuff becomes really important. And then we turn all of that data into some reporting. We typically give the studio a choice on what sort of report they like. There's the essential report and the complete report. Those are our two main ones. The complete report is a bit of a beast. It's about 60 odd pages, which turn the observations into meaningful data. That data is typically presented around 10 development pillars. So that's everything from narrative, gameplay loops and mechanics, audio, performance, first-time user experience, so on and so forth. So it makes it easier for teams to pull out information that's relevant, particularly if you've got 3 or 4 people contributing to the project. You can typically sort of pull stuff out based on one of those pillars. Additionally, we've adopted 2 universal data models which help, I guess, validate the data a little bit more, but also give you a clearer understanding of the people that are playing and your game experience. The first one is a 5-player trait model, which is, I guess, in the bigger scheme of things, is relatively new. It's sort of an evolution of the Barter's player profiling, which used to be that lovely, 4 quadrants sort of player model. But the 5-player trait is sort of very similar, but allows you to understand the people that are playing, what they're like as players. Do they play games because they are interested in narrative or aesthetic value? Do they play games to complete every task and every achievement and finish every quest? And it sort of builds up a bit of a matrix across 5 different individual traits. In addition to that, we use a PXI player model, which is about player experience. Now, this one's pretty new in terms of its integration. But the really exciting thing about this is we collect a whole bunch of data through the survey. I think it's about 25, 30 questions. And what we do is we turn it into a response that not only is good for your own development, but allows you to take that data and reflect it online to other titles within the same genre. So you can directly compare your player experience, say in a platformer game, against other platformer games and see how you fare, which in itself is a great opportunity to create all sorts of insight.
We do have.
In addition to,
Sorry,
yep, sorry.
finish the slide and then I have a question for you.
We also do a newly minted co-op report. So in addition to either the complete or essential report, we're now doing a co-op report, which just looks at the behavior between the players. How did they get on? How did they engage with each other? Who took lead? Who followed? Did they struggle with some of the challenges and how did that manifest? And as part of the Essential and Complete, we also, as standard, give you a standalone segmentation report, which is a little snapshot of who played your game. Because as much as we try hard to get the right segmentation, when you actually start to get through and look at your data, you know, if someone said something, you can actually check to see if how much aligned or how aligned are they with your truest target audience in order to weight the value of a decision. And we also provide a standalone survey document and give all the raw survey results as well as the analysis. So you have something to work through if you want to read all the comments. And of course, what we provide is all the videos on demand, you know, as requested. Downstream, we are looking at a new product which will allow us to link the videos into the reporting. So you'll go directly from a comment to a time-stamped moment in a video. We haven't got there yet, but it's on our list of things to do as we move forward. Haley, you had a question?
Yes, we do have a question from Haley, and Haley does have a background in QA, so I think she's a little biased. She's wondering,
Nice.
is there a reason that Playful doesn't do QA in the traditional sense and only player experience? And I think I know the answer to this, but I'm curious.
It's funny because we are thinking about this long term, but we also realize that it's a different recruitment path for us in terms of the people we get on board. We don't think we've experienced that QA professionals can make good play testers, but they also tend to give us a lot of feedback that is beyond player experience. And so as much as they can tick the box, and like you said, there is an overlap, we find people that don't have that QA experience are actually better to tell you about the experience and not tell you, oh, there must be a bug in that thing. He did a thing and I thought I was doing it. We want people to talk about the experience that they're actually participating in. We think our model as a whole can support QA in terms of what we're doing, but we just haven't actually started to develop that community yet. We're still running to get the playtesting stuff sorted before we start jumping into something new.
Yeah, again,
I need more
this
people.
is a relatively new small business.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I am always a fan of getting in on the ground floor. You know, building those relationships early, so that they can, as Playful improves and expands, we can still be there with this existing relationship. I do remember when I was playtesting the co-op game, I had to like stop myself a couple of times. I'm like, oh, there's just like this like bug or something, and I'm like, well, that's not what they're looking for. I'm sure they know like about this bug. I'm sure I mentioned it in the video, but still, I was like, I'm not a QA tester. I'm a playtester here. Yeah.
Playtesters absolutely still raise bugs, 100%. What they don't try and do is fix them in the commentary. It's like, oh, yeah, that's probably a controller issue. And what you'll do, and start to analyze it. We really want people to focus on those pillars. You know, was the experience good? Did the story make sense? There are some good QA people out there that do make good playtesters. but they're more unicorns, I think, than someone that we're actively chasing. What we're finding is that the from a segmentation standpoint, we need all sorts of players. People that only have a few hundred hours in a genre that are just starting off, but are, that are super engaged in survival titles, or on mobile, or on PC, as well as those experts that have got 10,000 hours, that know everything about the genre, and so therefore they're able to give you a different view on what's going on based on comparative experiences in other titles.
Are you able to see the chat? I can't remember because I know your
Yeah,
hand.
I
Okay,
I
great.
can't, I'm onto it this time.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah, they don't always make bad play testers, but I think that QA is good at doing QA. They're able to analyze things on a level that play testers can't. So, you know, there's sometimes a nice balance between the two. I guess let's jump back in. So in terms of where we're going, like I said, we're looking at long-term trying to support the industry. We know from our experience, we produced a VR title, which was a challenge. We've done a lot of corporate VR, but getting into the gaming space meant we had to relearn a whole lot of things. And the questions that we were being asked, beyond just playtesting, made us think, made us sort of pause in terms of how to start some of these exercises. Competitor analysis is one area that we want to get better at, and we're looking at some tools to bring online for studios to compare their titles against other competitors, and make it much easier to deliver, in terms of that understanding. For those that have gone for any sort of funding, that when you're receiving all the questions, they are the funding organization want to know who you're comparing yourself against. Some because they want to know that you know who your competitors are, but also from a development pipeline standpoint, that you are comparing against titles and being prepared to deliver something that is going to stand on its own in that space. We're also later on this year going to deliver a discovery platform. We understand that the channels that are currently out there, many of them are heavily managed by algorithms, and those gems, those indie titles, don't always get seen because they don't get the sort of momentum that some of the big boys demand before they start promoting. So we're actually looking at launching something Q3, Q4 that is going to look at indie titles and actually start to promote them across the space and through all the communities and networks that we're involved in.
That's very cool.
We're
That's a
also,
question we're trying to, like, Kate Bear is trying to answer as well, like the discoverability problem,
yeah,
because it's obviously a massive problem and everyone in the world is trying to figure it out. Um,
yeah.
I don't quite have an answer, so I'm excited to see what you guys do with it. But
Well, I'm
it's
hoping
very
we've got
difficult.
some answers, whether they're good or not. We'll soon find out. But we'll apply our playtesting hat to it. If it isn't good or
Yeah.
isn't delivering the experience, we'll just rework it. But we've got some pretty cool stuff we're playing with at the moment, which hopefully gives indie studios an opportunity to actually float a little bit and not get sort of overwhelmed by the algorithm. In addition, we're also looking at another product, which I'm probably more excited by this one, but it's going to take again, this is like a Q3, Q4 deliverable. Effectively, what we want to do is build a module that indie studios can plug into their code and actually give them telemetry over a longer period, which means that what it does, it supports those Steam demos that you run over months, and it'll give you telemetry data over a longer period of time, and allow you to get a little bit more granular. So if you wanted to track how many times someone tried to take down a boss before they succeeded, those would be the sort of things that you could potentially sort of plug into that. So that one's pretty exciting. And the last one, which will probably tie a lot of these things together for us, is we are looking at building a portal which will allow studios to get in a lot faster, to model up what sort of playtesting they want, and understand what that means. It also allows us to manage the playtesting community in a much more meaningful way. And it'll also provide data, I guess one source of truth sort of data. So over multiple playtests, you'll be able to compare and contrast your data all in one place through a dashboard. You'll be able to see whether things that you were tracking early on in your process are actually starting to affect change in subsequent playtests. And we're doing something similar with the playtesters as well, in terms of we understand, again, two sides of the same coin. We understand that there are a lot of people out there that are using playtesting as well as QA as a stepstone into the industry. So we want to provide them a login page that gives them almost a CV of playtests that they've been involved in, that they'll be able to download and use as a supplement to conversations that they may have with studios downstream. We also mentioned co-op testing, so we're starting to build on that. We've got an exciting 4-player co-op coming up off the back of our 2-player one last month, which is super exciting. We also do what we call a pulse survey. So if anyone just wanted, very early on in their process, just wanted to get answers to questions, we can spin up a 25, 50 question survey and run it out to experienced players of genres. And we're also just introducing, particularly for mobile developers, because it's where the need seems the greatest, is the ability to do a play test with no analysis, just provide the video on much smaller testing cohorts. So 6 to 10, provide 6 to 10 videos that studios want the luxury of then working through around specific use cases. So we sort of set that up ready to rock and roll as well. Once the portal comes online, one of the cool things is the video hyperlinking that we talked about earlier. So you'll get your report, you'll read a quote based on a feature or function or a moment where the player struggled. You better click on it, it will take you directly to that video timestamped. So you'll then be able to scrub forward and backwards around that issue. And then looking at bringing on dashboards to, again, make this data easy to understand overall. And then I guess the big question that I'm sure is on everyone's mind is, how much does this cost? I think we've started to look at, particularly before we started Playful, playtesting for us became one of the lowest cost ways to reduce the development risk. We understood the challenges before we exposed our audience long term. So we find it a great way of reinforcing our decisions, and actually eventually helped us in many of the conversations when we were developers. The objectives in playtesting can be very specific, and they can also be pretty broad, as I mentioned. First-time user experience, usability, balancing, co-op play, accessibility. The list is really endless. We're currently geared to support 8 players, which we consider probably the lowest number, unless where you're going to start seeing saturation around some of the content or some of the feedback. But we can support up to 80 players if you're wanting to do large-scale validation. Studios have 80, yeah. We're hoping to crack 100 by the end of the year. But it's, as you can all appreciate, the more people you get in there, it becomes a multiplier of data that you get back. And so we're just making sure our processes and programming supports greater and greater data sets. The processes around onboarding and getting people into play is the easy part, but actually working through larger data slices, we're being cautious and making sure we maintain quality. And then, as I mentioned, the essential stuff, the deliverables are either one of 3 reports, or 3 reports with a choice between either essential or complete, which have different values. Typically, an investment will run between 2 and 3K US, but there are so many variables there that we can probably go below that if you're after something very specific, or it could go to the top end of that if you're typically it'll be more when you're looking for larger player cohorts. But there's quite a lot of flex um, with regards to choosing your budget. Um, and we're trying to bring more levers for studios on board so they don't just accept what we're offering, but actually they can be quite selective about the sort of things that they do test and actually be quite specific about the outcomes they expect and not pay for stuff that's actually not useful.
Yeah, and like I said,
Um,
yes, we'll get into this before people get too scared about a cost of 2 to 3K. We
yep.
do have some options, but like I said in the beginning, this is, it's still going to cost money. And I know that that is not accessible right now for a lot of our studios. And so that's why this is also like a long standing relationship that we are going to have. And there's also some more things that K Bear is going to try to do to make this even more accessible. The 2 to 3K, I don't know if you want to talk about the prices of your competitors, but the 2 to 3K is already pretty competitive when it comes to this genre of service. They are already making it pretty accessible for indie studios comparatively to their competitors, which is one of the reasons I was interested in this relationship. Um, and then we are going to make it more accessible to you through this slide. And then there's some even more things that I'm trying to do. So tell us all about it, Jeremy.
Mm. I think that's for us, it was quite important to be competitive. Price is a barrier. We did a whole lot of research up front, and even lately, I think I had a conversation with a studio last week, and they told me that they had been quoted $20,000 for a playtest, which I almost fell off my seat. We're designing our service to actually fit in with studios. We give them a huge amount of flex to pick the things that actually are important to them, particularly depending on where they are in their pipeline, and actually make it affordable that it isn't just something that you do once and hope you get all the answers because there's no way you can afford to do it again. Um, our, I like to think, what we're delivering is sound. It provides exactly what it says on the label, the ability for studios to make informed decisions around what's going on. And obviously, it can be weighted towards very specific outcomes, which sort of not to repeat, but giving studios the opportunity to actually choose about how they actually go around structuring their test. And as Ayla sort of touched on, what that 2K, 2 to 3K is sort of what typically we're offering for indie and mid-sized studios. But through our partnership, we're looking at sort of adding even more into that hopefully as a real signal that we're here for the long term. We're here to work with the small studio, because we know small studios become big studios. They work hard, their created product gets loved, and we'd like to be part of that journey with lots of people. So our starting gambit here is that for all reporting products, 15% discount for all Cave Beer members of the partner program. So that's where we started. We also really love what Ayla's doing with regards to the whole Cave Beer movement. And so what we're looking at doing is when you guys do have a play test, we're going to look at recruiting from the Cave Beer community first, which if people volunteer, your costs are just going to start coming down. Obviously, as you start getting bigger numbers or want bigger tests, more people involved, that becomes one of the most notable costs when you start getting past 20, 30, up to 50 participants. But if we can get Cave Beer community involved, that cost disappears, because already you guys are doing amazing things for your community. This seems like a natural extension of that. And by proxy, it makes sense that partners can benefit from the stuff that AIM's already building.
Just so that
in it,
we had over 80 people from the Cave Bear community sign up to playtest with Playful after the event the other week, and so that's only going to grow, right? So already a good pool out there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Ravan, who is heading up all the playtesting community, most of that 80, we got about 80 to 100 signups, and most of it came within 24, 48 hours. So she was very busy in this first 24
Sorry,
hours
Evan.
after the webinar. So it was amazing, absolutely amazing. The other thing we're doing is we're setting up what we're calling at the moment, for want of a better name, maybe you guys can suggest something, is a sort of a featured studio support program. And so once a quarter, Playful's commitment to Cave Bear is we will discount a playtesting session by 50% straight off the bat against any of the reporting products that we offer. We're going to take a step back from who gets that, and actually have handed the reins over to Ayla to communicate and work with the community to make sure that she establishes where it's going to do the most value within your community, which is, I think, is a pretty cool program. It means that at least 4 times a year we can elevate someone that's maybe going through their journey a little bit further than beyond the normal program. And then we're in the process of developing some shared learning that we will be working on and making available to the Cave Bear community ad hoc over the next few months. And it'll be something that we sort of slowly build learnings, information about what other studios are doing. We actually just ran a global survey. I'm hoping to get the results back in the next week or so, and we'll freely make available what other studios are experiencing at the moment. What are the challenges that they're finding? Because as you probably know from your own community conversation, indies across the world are tough, are toughing it out. But we also know that the top end of the gaming sector is being brutalized a little bit by the big corporates. So I'm keen to make sure that we keep moving forward despite all the bumps in the road at the moment. So offering learnings where we can, support where we can, even if you're not certain that a playtest is right for you now, I'm happy to jump into a call and guide, support. If I've got something that can help you, I'm more than happy to help you out.
Yeah, so I want to go through some of this, just kind of reiterate in my own words again. So as I said in the very beginning, if you missed it, I am very aware that the vast majority of our studios have a $0 budget. That is the budget that I had when I developed my game. Playful, I would not have been able to afford. I'm very, very aware of this. However, I can't just go around asking services to give me stuff for free all of the time. It's not going to work every single time. And I respect that, right? Everyone is a business, just as you guys are businesses as well. So my goal is to just try and make things a little bit more accessible where I can, right? And the reality is some of our studios do have some money. Some of our studios have grant money. Some of our studios have, I think at least one of our studios has investors. One of our studios has a publisher. And then with grant money or personal money, this might the 2 to 3K might be a little bit more accessible for you guys. For those of us who cannot afford this at all under any circumstances, I'm totally aware of that. We have other projects, other things going on that will continue to help you guys. And so this one might not be for you right now. But again, like I said, this is a relationship that is going to be a long-standing relationship. And Jeremy is also now a connection, a networking connection for you. So he is someone that you can go to, like you just said, if you have questions about this, even if it's not something that you can afford, you now have this resource just for your own education to learn more about this for when down the line, if this is something that you can afford and want to do, then you'll have that kind of educational resource for you to figure out if it is what you want to do now. For those of us who do have a little bit of money, that's why I wanted someone who was more accessible and not $20,000, right? And so just across the board, if you are a studio with our program, you get the 15% discount just on any of their services, just across the board. But I wanted to again go further than that, and that is why we have the community playtesting and the featured studio playtesting. So the community playtesting, like he said, there are still costs associated to that when it comes to the data analysis and the reporting. And I don't know if you have a good range for that, Jeremy, but at least the cost of the playtesters will be supplemented by our own community. Again, that 80 to 100 people that have already signed up to playtest. And they were very excited in the other event when they heard about this, being able to help the community, the partner studios. They were very excited about it. So I'm really excited to maybe do one of those, hopefully soon. And yeah, so you'll be able to supplement those costs just for the playtesters through our own community, helping our own community, and then the featured support. And I'm gonna talk about this closer to the end more. The featured studio, I have an application form. So the featured studio is at least once a quarter. Cave Bear will put out an application for playtesting for this 50% discount of playtesting with Playful. I will share that form at the end of this so that you guys, if you can afford that, remaining 50%, you can apply and we will pick one of the studios. I will pick one of the studios. Cave Bear, in general, will pick one of the studios to receive that at least once a quarter. So I'll talk about that more later. But again, like I said, long-standing relationship, and that's also why the shared learning as well. One of the pillars of K-Bear is education, alongside communication and passion. I'm a former educator. Education is really important to me, and so I want studios to be aware of playtesting service, that it exists, what it's good for, when to use it, and also just good practices, right? And so while Playful themselves are making educational content on their own, just part of their own pillars, I am hopeful that not only will they share these, but that they will also return to Cave Bear and help us create our own resources as well, to help further educate both our studios and our regular developers about playtesting. So yeah, back to you.
Back to me just as I was having a coughing fit.
Sorry.
Actually, that's it. Really, we're sort of at the end of the preso. Really, it's just open up to the floor if the people have got questions. More than happy to start a conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yes. Start putting your questions in chat. Any question that you want. While you do that, I will start getting some links ready for you guys. Less questions, more excited. Haley, I'm really glad you're excited because you are the resident kind of QA UX person. So I appreciate someone of your stature being excited about this. So thank you for being here. Okay, so what I'm first going to do is I'm going to share Haley's really excited about Playful Live. Yeah, it sounds really cool. Okay, so this first link that I'm going to send you is actually a post-event survey. So this is about this event. For those of you who are watching the recording, I will also send it to you. I would love to know, just for Cave Bear's own sake, what you thought of this event. This is a Cave Bear only kind of survey. We wanted, well, I'll probably share it with Playful as well, just so that you are aware. But it's anonymous. I just want to know if you like the event. I want to know if you like this partnership. We're going to be doing more post-event surveys just in the future with our other events. And we're kind of just testing it out now. You may have done this already if you went to the other Playful event. So please fill that out. Please click that link. Please open it up. Please fill it out. If you did do that, Odea, I deleted your response because there were 2 people who accidentally chose the wrong event. So just do it again for this event. Sorry. Okay, so that's the first link. Again, while you are putting your questions in chat, the other link that I will give you is another one, if I can find it. Hold on. Oh, question. How do you handle playtesting for games that have incomplete features or are missing feedback? Is it possible to get useful info out of them? How do you filter for that, or is it better to wait? That's a good question.
It is a good question. I guess we're geared up to take feedback at a lot of different stages within the game pipeline. When you are, I guess, looking at something very specific, then the brief that we hand our playtesters is very specific. We get them to focus as part of our briefing or onboarding process for each of the tests. We will outline areas in and around where they should be putting their energy. It doesn't always work. I think we've done a couple of grey box tests at the moment. And some people get distracted by the lack of nothing in a lot of scenes. But we still get more than enough data in order to inform whatever the goal is for those tests. It's about getting good play testers and making sure they understand what they need to achieve.
Cool. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question, Gabe. If it doesn't, please let us know. So what I'm also going to give to you guys is the application form. So if you are a studio who is ready for playtesting in the next few months, can afford a 50% of 2 to 3K roughly, or think that you might be able to, then this is for you. So this is our first quarter. This is our first featured studio application, and it is here. It is here. And I can go through it a little bit. I'm actually going to share my screen. Oh, never mind. I can't.
What about now? I just unshared.
Oh, yes, I can. Thank you. Okay. 50% of 2K. Yes, that's correct. Jeremy?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, at the low end, it might be even less than that.
Cool.
Depends
Yeah,
on what
again,
we're trying to test.
if you think this is something that you might be able to achieve, I recommend applying for this. And you can keep recording, Michael. Yeah, we're gonna go through the application. So let's do that. So here's the application. It's just basic information about your studio. Obviously who you are. If you are ideally the founder doing this, someone who can make these decisions. If you're a legally registered business or not, and then we want to talk about your game. I know some of you have several games in development. If that's the case, if you have multiple games in development that are ready for playtesting, then I would say maybe even do this application twice or however many games. Yeah, but also you can let me know. Genre, stuff like that. Current development phase, we want to know where you're at. Like Jeremy said, playtesting can be done at any point in development, pretty much. So we want to know where you're at. And then target platform. So we want to know what you're looking to publish on. And this is important because Playful is only currently able to do PC and mobile. So if you have a game that is going on PC and PlayStation, they can playtest for PC, but not for PlayStation, right? So just be aware of that. Then some other information about who your target audience is, so we can get the right playtesters. Why you're seeking professional playtesting. Will you be able to fund the cost? Just so you know, be very clear if you will be able to or not. But what will be important for me is because I'm the one going to be choosing the studio, and I'm going to attempt to be as unbiased as possible. I want to know how receiving this selection will impact your project. I want to know how this will help you, right? And we want to give this to the studio that will benefit the most, right? So that's probably the most important question there. And yeah, just a couple other just really quick questions. Supporting materials. If you don't have like a Steam page or a website, what other materials can you provide so you know more about your game and stuff like that. So I'll probably give you guys like a month or so to apply for this, and then we'll go through at the end of this month. And then hopefully begin playtesting within 1 to 3 months if you are chosen. Cool. Okay.
Very cool.
And again, if you are interested in the community playtesting, let me know. Let Jeremy know. If you are interested in the 50% discount, let me know. Let Jeremy know, right? Basically, I just want you guys to feel comfortable having an open conversation with Jeremy and Playful to figure out, how long where you're at, if you are at a spot for playtesting, any of these questions, right? So what I am going to do, Jeremy, if you're okay with it, I am going to give them the link to the Playful server, the Discord server, as well. Oh, never mind. I can't. I don't have permission. Can you do that? Do you know how to grab the?
No, Raven doesn't let me touch that stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay. I will be sending an email out to all of you after. So I'll just include it there. So that you can go in that, ask questions, Jeremy and Raven. Or I will also be including Jeremy in the email that I send out to all of the studios after this event, so that you can just reply and he will see it if you have questions. I'm also going to, again, Jeremy, if you are okay with it, give them your LinkedIn. And you can reach out to him as well. But you will have his email through through the email that I sent later. Jeremy, I'm blanking on your last name. Can you tell me it again?
Sweetman.
Sweetman, right. Duh. I knew that. Okay. Here is Jeremy's LinkedIn as well. Yeah, so Mitch says I'm interested in community testing. So yeah, let's talk about it. Message one of us, or just wait for the email and you can get us both on an email. Yeah. Okay, cool. Any more questions, guys? Again, if you're watching the recording and you have more questions that were not answered, please reply to the email that I sent, or I missed one. Where is it? How long is the choosing process? Definitely community testing. For the featured studio, the application, I'm going to let the application run for about a month. And then it shouldn't be too, I don't think we'll get overloaded with applications. If that does happen, give me maybe a good couple of weeks, but it shouldn't take very long. I'll be looking at the applications as they come throughout the month. So it shouldn't take very long to choose one. I just want to keep the application open for a good amount of time so people have the time to properly answer the questions. So I would think if you are chosen, certainly you will be contacted in the month that is after July, which is June, July,
August.
August. Thank you. Cool. And again, if you are chosen, that means you want to start playtesting within the next 1 to 3 months of July and August. Cool. Okay.
And we can move pretty fast. We can align with your schedule anyway. So cool. We're fairly nimble in terms of how we approach things.
Cool. And again, just want to really nail down, just start a conversation with us. If you're confused, if you're unsure, if you aren't anywhere near playtesting, but you want to learn more, if you aren't anywhere near having the money, but want to learn more, just start a conversation with us. That's really the big point here. Okay, cool. This is an example of a partnership that I am trying to do for you guys. This is the first one. This will not be the last one. We want more businesses, more entities to support us in this way and greater ways. Oh, and I did forget something actually before we end. Disclaimer. No promises on what I'm about to say, okay? This is just something that I want to do, and we still need to get the money to do it, and I still need board approval to do it. So there are a lot of hoops to jump through, but this is something that I'm hoping that we will be able to do. So with the featured studio support, it is currently 50% off the services, right? Which is great. That's already a huge discount. But again, I'm very aware that a lot of our studios have $0. I'm always thinking of that. I'm always aware of that. And so something that I am hoping to do is, now that we are a nonprofit, we have hopefully we'll have access to capital at some point if we can get donors or sponsors or fundraising, right? Eventually, we plan to have some money. When that time comes, I do hope, again, no promises on anything I'm saying, I hope to create a grant that will supplement that remaining 50% so that playtesting will be $0 and we can open up this service up to a lot more of you. Again, no promises. I have to actually get money first, which I am doing, but it's difficult. And then I do have to get board approval and stuff like that. I'm not the only one in charge anymore. So just be aware of that. It is something that I am hoping to do and trying to do because, again, I'm very aware that a lot of us have no money. And I want to, again, make this as accessible as possible. So yeah, okay. I think that is it. Jeremy, anything else from you?
No, I think you covered everything. Great.
Okay. I will send out an email with this recording with all the information written down, with Jeremy's email, with the Playful Discord, all of this stuff. And again, if you have questions or you want to start a conversation, just reply to that email, reach out to me, reach out to Jeremy, whatever way that you think is best, and we will start those conversations. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. You can stop, Michael. You're good to stop the recording.